remain in the Big Ten regular season, starting with this weekend against visiting Northwestern. I'm Kyle Charters with SID Ben Turner and head baseball coach Greg Goff. Coach, whenever you're playing on the road, your goal is to win the series. Your second goal is to not be swept because it can be so difficult to win road series. You came out in grand fashion on Sunday at Illinois, putting up 20 runs, 14 of them in one inning. You batted around twice in one inning, which you barely ever see, man. You watch a lot of baseball, and sometimes you see new things. But you accomplished the second goal, and that is to go to Illinois against an Illinois team that's very, very good at home and be able to take one to sort of keep yourself in the hunt for the Big Ten tournament.
No doubt, Kyle. I thought we did a great job. Again, responded on Sunday, last 2 weekends in a row. We just got to find a way to get one of those two before that, and you win a series, so on the road. But, Illinois is really good at home. I think they were 11-2. And averaging, I think, 11 or 12 runs a game, something like that before we got there. And I can't say enough about Coach Newman and our pitching staff this past weekend to be able to limit those guys to the amount of hits and runs that they got this weekend. I think it all started there. I thought we had a big inning and we scored a bunch of runs on Sunday, but, you look through the weekend, we did a really good job of keeping one of the best offenses in the Big Ten at their place down.
You've coached a lot of baseball games in your career. How many 14-run innings, 18 batters to the plate games have you seen?
I think I've had maybe, I was looking back, I think maybe I've had maybe one. I know one for sure, and maybe two. That's it. I mean, you just don't do things like that, and especially with no errors involved. Our guys just hit and used the middle of the field and took what they gave us and just really thought we kind of opened it up on Sunday and had a great plan, and guys really felt comfortable up there.
The pitching did its part, as you said, 13 runs allowed in 13 innings, which you go to Champaign, you're going to take that because they are elite at home, as you mentioned. Your two guys from Illinois, Chicagoland area, starting pitchers on Saturday and Sunday led the way.
No doubt.
Cole Van Assen, a good start from him, 5 strong, goes into the 6th, 2-run ball. And Valone on Sunday, his first start. Most important part of what he did, I thought, 3 zeros after that big inning. He sits and watches that for 45 minutes.
Right.
And instead of letting it get really out of hand where now maybe it's 15-10.
Right.
No, instead 1-2-3, 1-2-3. Hey, next thing you know, you're on your way to a run rule.
There's no doubt, Ben. I thought that was once with Mike being his first start and all, you never know how that's going to go. But once we got that big of a lead, like that's the guy you want. He's a strike throwing machine. He's going to pitch to contact, and once those guys got down, I felt like they kind of rode over a little bit, and he's the guy you want out there, man. He's the guy that wants to pound that zone and keep those guys off stride, and he did that a great job with that.
What about CVA's performance? It's very rare to have a 3-1 game in Champaign.
Yeah, it is.
It would have been a decade since that was fewer runs than that in a Purdue-Illinois game in Champaign. And, Friday night, Dorn kept your team in it, but CVA pitched better, I thought, and gave you a very good chance to win. And besides the start at Penn State, he's really pitched pretty well here in April.
He has, I thought he did a great job, Ben. I thought, anytime you give us a chance to win, he did that on Saturday. And so I thought he did a great job. The one, again, it goes back to 1 or 2 pitches. Early in the game, he hung a breaking ball there with 2 strikes. Guy got a single to get the first run of the game. But, you look at his overall body of work, man, I thought he did a great job. I thought he was really competitive. Just seeing him command the fastball was amazing. And once the fastball, for him, is in the zone, that breaking ball makes it so much tougher when that fastball is running in on you and the breaking ball is going away. I mean, it's a tough thing, and I thought he did a great job.
Pitching and defense will give your team a chance, and the pitching and defense was really good over the weekend, especially against an Illinois team that at home in particular, as you mentioned earlier, can really score some runs. But for the staff to only give up 13 runs in 23 innings, you mentioned a few of the guys that pitched really well. But, man, that gives your team an opportunity, and certainly on Sunday when you score 20 runs, it gives you a very good opportunity. That, along with no errors defensively,
That's right.
For the first time, I think, in a weekend series this year, what a performance by those guys, pitching and defense.
It was, Kyle. I mean, again, I think people forget when they look at the box score, 3 games without an error over there. And so, again, that's where it starts and begins with the pitching and defense. Our offense, I felt like really caught fire on Sunday, and hopefully we can continue to build off of that. But if we can pitch and play defense these next 3 weeks, it's going to give us the greatest opportunity for us to get in that conference tournament, which is the ultimate goal at this point in the season.
the guys off the bench, at least the latter half of the series, made an impact. Be ready. That's always a rallying cry. You see what Illinois does, run the same lineup out there every game. That's just how they do it. You mix and match more often, and I love to see that the guys were ready, specifically Breck Nowick, Eli Anderson. Eli had 4 hits over the course of the back half of the series, and Breck led the way Sunday. 3 extra base hits and 5 RBIs. Perfect example of guys that were ready.
They are, and as a coach, I think it's really important that you have a great feel for your team, and just, all those guys are important. I think it's really important that you make those players understand, like, everybody that's here has a role, and make sure you're ready when those opportunities arrive. That's one thing as a coach I felt like it's really important to do, and so I try to keep close ties with those guys and making sure they're ready to go. It's hard, it's hard when you don't play as much and stuff like that, but I just try to encourage them and make sure they're ready, and I thought both of those guys went in, and Eli started left on Sunday and had some great at-bats, and when he's in the lineup, man, he just brings a different deal with his speed and things of that nature. He's definitely gives us a bunch, punching with the offense.
So the wins on Sundays the last 2 weekends have kept you connected in the Big Ten tournament chase. That only matters if you finish strong and win at home here down the stretch. Well, that time is at hand.
That's right.
12 straight here in the state of Indiana to finish the regular season. Northwestern's coming to town first. It's really a must-win series.
It is, and again, we know we put ourselves in a bind a little bit the way we got off to the conference, and we know that, and we're disappointed just like everybody else is in that regard. But we got 9 games to go in the conference. Got a big game tonight with Notre Dame. All these games are important as we go through this thing. And I told our team on Saturday, they're looking at us after we get beat 3-1, and got the tying run, on base there late. And I told them I love this team. I love what they do. They're great kids. They show up every day. You've been around them. You guys have been around them. They have not turned it in. They have not. They play hard. There's some circumstances throughout the year that's kind of hurt us a little bit with some depth and things of that nature. But I love this team. I love what they do every day. And there's no doubt in my mind these guys are going to finish hard and play as best they can and give us a chance to do that.
The nice thing about how the schedule works out here over the last 3 weekends is that, you play 2 of those series at home, and the 2 series that you play at home are against teams that are immediately in front of you. That have targets for you. I mean, you've got to catch Northwestern. You've got to catch Nebraska.
That's right.
Certainly, you need to play well and win some games against Indiana in between there down in Bloomington. But it's pretty easy to look at that schedule and say, like, this is what we have to do. We've got to beat these teams because they're immediately in front of us, and we're going to be jockeying for spots in the Big Ten tournament with these 2 opponents.
Well, that's what I told, again, grabbed some of the guys on Saturday after the game and just said, listen, everything that we have is out in front of us, and that's what it is. I mean, we control our own destiny. We have an opportunity to do that in these last 9 games, and I know these guys are really, really excited after getting on that bus on Sunday. The way they showed up on Sunday after getting beat, it takes a lot. I tell our team all the time, like, Sunday I think is a kind of mental toughness day. It really shows what a team's made of. You lose 2 games like that on the road, you could easily roll over and show up and just go home. But these guys have been resilient each and every weekend, and I'm really proud of them for that.
The Wildcats this weekend, one of the most, if not the most, improved team in the Big Ten this year. They've been solid this season.
They are. They got some big wins. They've won some big series. They're definitely different than they were last year when we went up there and played and swept them. And so we know that. We know that we're going to have to play a really good baseball to win this series and to continue to try to get in that conference tournament. And they know what's at stake as well. They won on Sunday after getting beat pretty bad on Friday and Saturday. And so we all know what's at stake, and I know this weekend. I just want to encourage all of our fans to get out there and make Alexander feel what it's been for the last for the whole year, really, to be honest with you. Having 2,000 people out there last week, it's a huge home field advantage for us, for sure.
Yeah, certainly will be a big crowd for the midweek game, and will be nice weather, big crowds at Alexander for Northwestern this weekend. Coach, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll bring in the catcher, Houston Russell. We'll do that coming up next on This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex.
Play championship golf at the Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex. Enjoy great food and great drinks at the new Pete Dye Clubhouse, and shop official Purdue gear at the Purdue Pro Shop. Experience it all now at PurdueGolf.com.
Let's bring in Houston Russell on This Week in Purdue Baseball. Houston, it's been a good stretch for you here lately, especially that series against Illinois, but you've started 6 consecutive games behind the plate as well, sort of similar to March when you were getting a lot of time when Sergio DiCello was out. Do you like being able to get back there and and getting a little bit of rhythm?
Yes, sir. It just helps my routine. I like knowing the day of, just so I can get stretched out properly and just have that confidence going in the game that, it's my time and just how to rally the guys around us and get ready for that game specifically.
You had a big weekend in Champaign, including in the 14-run third inning on Sunday. Hit one off the wall with the bases loaded. I guess, first of all, what's it like to be involved in an inning like that? I would imagine that the energy gets pretty high. You guys tend to feed, I would guess, one at-bat after the other. And then to be able to come through in big spots like that, which you've done at times throughout the season, has to be a good feeling.
Yeah, for sure. And, Sunday we just all kind of came together and, it was a big win. One step closer to the conference tournament, and just really big it's Sunday's hit day for us, so no matter what the pitching staff does, even though they were awesome that day too, but just, jumping out to a big league really helps, filling up the zone on the defensive side, getting back, everyone's trying to hit that day too, so that was big time, and just having confidence with, runners on base and just extending innings, really, just passing the bat. We always talk about, Coach Rowd always says, is just get the next guy up and good things happen. So,
yeah, he did a wonderful job of passing the bat. To bat through twice like that in a full inning, that's crazy. We hadn't seen like that before. We talked to pitchers a lot about that, like what's it like to watch, a big inning from the dugout while your team keeps scoring. But we never asked the catcher that. Did you take your gear on off?
Yeah.
Twice? You don't expect.
I got two at bats, so. I was about to hit the first time, got my bat, ended up scoring, and then put my shinies back on, and then obviously had to take those back off and hit again and then put them back on. So, and then, I was just trying to tell Mike, just stay in that rhythm, go down there. We need a big 1, 2, 3 inning was big right here. So just stay focused.
Are there pitchers that you talk to more between innings when you're not going to bat, and then pitchers that you don't talk to as much that just like to – keep to themselves?
Yeah, it kind of just depends on the guy. Like Avery Cook, he's a very he'll be sitting down there and he'll just I know he's locked in, so I don't really have to say much. But I like talking to Isaac Milburn. Just keeping him positive, keeping him going on his little just keep him going. Just he likes me talking back and forth with him too. So.
Maybe this isn't a fair question, but we talk about how catchers having to catch both games of a doubleheader. You kind of try to avoid that if you can do it. And then it's catching all 3 games of a series. Are those things equal? Challenging? What's more taxing on the body?
I think I've only caught one doubleheader. It was that UIC, and it got rain delayed. So,
sure.
But I think, doubleheaders are probably more taxing, but just 1, 2, 3, I'm kind of used to that. So I like 1, 2, 3 series. So
you handled a pitching staff that did its part over the weekend against Illinois, just 13 runs in the 23 innings. In particular, Cole Van Assen and Michael Vallone pitched really well in the starts on Saturday and Sunday. What were you seeing out of the staff over the weekend, and those two guys in particular?
We've been talking just as a staff. I'm in every pitching meeting. All the catchers are too. So we've been really just emphasizing filling up the zone early, trying to get 2 strikes out of 3 pitches, the first 3, being ahead is hard for a hitter, so I've kind of given my insight on that, and just all hitters, you're more uncomfortable when you're down 1-2 instead of up 2-1 or 3-0, so. And then competitive 2-strike pitches too. They punched out a lot of guys this weekend too, so just working on that and just improving that each and every game I think is important.
Connor Cascanet told us a couple of years ago something we found very interesting, and that was that he struggled a little bit to catch left-handed pitchers. I'm just wondering whether you as a catcher have ever had that issue, or whether there's just some guys, maybe it's Chris Gallagher, Avery Cook, or a sidearm, or a left hand or something, where you just realize, man, I don't see the ball very well. Here, have you ever had an instance like that?
I wouldn't say it's right or left. I think it's really comes down to arm slot. Yeah. I think, not the sidearm, but right in this area is kind of harder to see. Up top and sidearm I can see pretty well, but it's just kind of getting comfortable and catching those bullpens and flat grounds and stuff like that. So
Are you kind of like you and Sergio and Will Briggs, the wild cards when it comes to pitcher-catcher matchups and stuff like that? We talked to the hitters about who's a tough matchup for you, that kind of thing. I mean, you know them so well throughout fall ball and then preseason practice and scrimmages. You know, that matchup, when you face them as a hitter, is that just a whole different animal than what you do when you're working with them?
Yeah, 100%. You know, because it kind of differs because, you know, you have Coach Newman calling pitches instead of the other catcher. So, but I mean, you also know where everything comes out of too. So the different slots the fastball comes out of, the different slots the changeup, the curveball. So you kind of have an upper edge just because you see them, you know, that many more times more than the other guys. So
Catching bullpens on top of that as well.
100%.
So you are from the Oklahoma City area originally. Midwest City is your hometown. We went to the Beef House on Thursday in Covington on the way to Champaign. That's a normal stop. I was curious if that kind of reminded you a little bit of an Oklahoma restaurant or steakhouse and maybe a small slice of home.
yeah, for sure. You know, it's always good being 12 hours away from home. It's always good to get a little piece of home, especially going into big weekend series. So it was good to eat with all the guys and, you know, just get off our feet a little bit on a bus trip. And you know, I love this group of guys, so it's always good to do a little thing extra, just us, you know, having fun.
Purdue's playing Notre Dame tonight. We're taping this on Tuesday morning. Rivalry game, maybe not the same level as Purdue IU, but, you know, Purdue fans, you know, hold Notre Dame right up there. What was the bigger deal in your house, Oklahoma State, or Oklahoma, Texas?
Yeah, you know, it was definitely Oklahoma, Texas. We went to the Red River rivalry every year, so it's a big thing down there, but definitely OU, Texas.
Are you on board with the Oklahoma City Thunder? He's not much of an NBA fan, but they're having quite the season.
Oh man, Shea's gonna win MVP, and you know, the city is rocking down there.
Okay, you're invested too.
Oh yeah, every game.
There you go. You guys, back to baseball while you guys are distracted by basketball. You guys have done what you needed to do to hang in there the last couple of weekends, right? To stay within striking distance of the Big Ten tournament. You know, it speaks to, I think, your team's character to come back on Sundays and get victories. But now down the stretch here, you got to be able to win some series, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just what's sort of been the focus going forward?
Really, kind of like we talked about, on Sundays we've been getting ahead early. It'd be nice to get a couple rounds early, especially on Friday and Saturday, and just put a couple series away. It'd be big time really down the stretch.
For sure.
Shout-outs for teammates. We like to give you an opportunity, maybe somebody that's been flying below the radar a little bit or working well out of the bullpen. Who deserves some love on this week in Purdue baseball?
Let's go a hitter and a pitcher. Let's go Breck Noack. Breck Noack's been having really good at-bats. He's kind of like the spark plug for the offense, honestly. He's an older guy, but he's not afraid to have some fun, keep the energy up. And then let's go Mac Finley. He had a big outing on Friday night, looking for more pretty soon, whether it's tonight or this weekend.
Yeah, since Matt got a chance to start some midweek games, really seen him kind of come into his own. And Brett, going back to that Arizona State game, I feel like when he's been out there, he's found a way to make an impact. That's
for sure.
Fun to see. All right, we close out the player segment, what we call personal preferences, just trying to learn more about you. Houston, there are no wrong answers, but we do have you pick a number. And this week we're down to numbers between 1 and 11.
All right, let's go 8. That's my number other than 16.
Got it. Most interesting or exotic place you've ever traveled to?
Let's go Turks and Caicos. We've been there twice with my whole family. So
Okay. Liked it so much you went back.
Oh man, it's awesome.
That's the South Caribbean, closer to South America,
yes,
right?
yes.
Nice.
I've also been there.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Could you
Nice
help
place.
get me a ticket?
Yeah.
We can round out the
The
show.
water is unbeatable down there.
Nothing beats the Caribbean, that's for sure. All right, between 1 and 11, don't pick 8.
Let's go 2.
A favorite athlete or coach, current or retired?
Let's go Aaron Judge, obviously. I mean, go Yankees.
Fair enough.
All right.
He's off to quite the start
Oh, yeah.
this year. I mean, I think I saw something crazy. Like, he had a batting average higher than the date
Yeah,
at one point.
It was like 424. He's batting at 425.
That was wild. In the major league level. Pretty cool. All right, last one between 1 and 11, don't pick 2, don't pick 8.
Let's go 7.
Favorite big city?
New York City. been there once, watched the Yankees, did the whole tour around. So
You would not expect that from a guy from Oklahoma City, but hey, it's the Big Apple for a reason.
It's
you know,
awesome.
Until you experience it, I don't think you can really appreciate it.
yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
You guys have 2 of the next 3 back at home, and the crowds have been outstanding, especially when the weather has been nice, and we would hope that that would be the case this weekend and into May. You hope to be able to garner some momentum for having 2,000 plus in the stands for Northwestern this weekend and Nebraska in a couple of weeks.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think, whether we score a run, make a big out, we hear that roar from the crowd, and it just gets all of us going, Momentum is the A+ in baseball, so whether we can have that from the fans or, the team just rallies behind it, so the more the merrier.
Yeah, for sure. Should be a great weekend against the Wildcats. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for the show for this week. Thanks to Houston Russell, along with Greg Goff, Ben Turner as well, and producer Corey